Why would starting over require burning bridges when it could mean strengthening ties and building a more solid foundation? Are you ready to make the mental shift to not only ignite something new, but to actually sustain it? We're standing at a powerful threshold. The new moon in Aries marks the height of this Aries season, initiating this year of the fire horse. And all planets are moving direct this month for the only time this year. This energetic push forward from the universe is being grounded into Earth and stabilized by the sun moving into Taurus at the end of April. So, this is an incredibly auspicious time to start something new and commit to nurturing it from fleeting spark to roaring bonfire. What is up, my witches? Welcome to the Queer Soul Alchemy Podcast, a supportive community helping queer folks to embrace their authentic selves by exploring yoga, astrology, and spirituality. I'm your host, Lee Davey. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Queer Soul Alchemy Podcast. I'm your host and favorite queer NB priestess, Lee Davey. And I'm like if your older sister was also your older brother who just came back from a 3-year sabbatical as a yogic monk and now reads astrology charts at your local gay bar. Donations appreciated, hugs accepted. And in this episode, we're diving into the energy of the upcoming new moon in Aries, unpacking the astrological symbolism of the sun's shift from Aries into Taurus, and exploring the sacred movement from courage and expression to sensual embodiment this spring. You'll learn why now is a potent opportunity for manifestation by taking aligned action. But first, new episodes of this podcast drop every Wednesday, posted to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Wherever you're listening from, please help this queer little light of mine shine by leaving me a like, a comment, and a nice little 5-star review. And make sure you subscribe, honey, so that we can help other queer spiritual seekers find this magic little corner of the interwebs. Don't miss out on exclusive access to my free self-care resource guide, which I've specifically curated for you to support your journey with spirituality. To download this guide and be the first to know about upcoming queer yoga retreats and events, please sign up for our email newsletter at www.yourloved.one/pod. What do you guys want to hear about next? You can message me anytime at that same link on our website, which will also always be linked in the show notes, you guys. And tell me your story for a chance to be featured on the podcast, because your story matters and sharing our stories makes us stronger as a community. I have a few more YouTube comments to spotlight today. The first one is a recent comment from Julia on a podcast episode about yoga sadhana that was published about 4 months ago, last Scorpio season. And Julia says, I resonate so much with what you're saying about the caretaker wound. I have also done a lot of work around this wound, particularly around parentification and how it affects me now. I recently discovered that I too was receiving something from the dynamic, being needed, trusted, and in control, which also plays into abandonment wounds. It's funny, I'm listening to this video now when I was really going through a huge shift around the time this podcast came out. I look forward to seeing how we change as we continue to discover how to set and keep those boundaries. Thank you for sharing that, Julia. I really appreciated hearing your perspective. And I think this is a great example to show that these episodes are timeless, you guys. Like, sure, we talk about different zodiac seasons and lunations in each episode, but we also talk about spiritual lessons that are truly timeless on each episode. So even if you feel called to go back and listen to an episode from months ago, the timing will be just right in order for you to receive it. Sometimes when we're going through things, we can't see it clearly while it's happening. So sometimes the messages resonate more actually a bit after the fact. And this is all just to say, even if you don't follow along with the podcast, like exactly when the episodes come out, don't feel like you're behind or can't listen to them just because the time has passed. Like, listen to them whenever you feel called to in any order. And I would encourage you to just follow your intuition on that and trust that the messages you need to hear will be available when you're ready to hear them. And then the second comment I have to share is from Kristen on the previous episode featuring Swami Shankarananda. Kristen says, I'm going to remember this story for the rest of my life. Words cannot express the happiness I felt, knowing that Enlightenment is for everyone. We may walk different paths to get there, or maybe it came by surprise. No matter what, we are all loved by love itself. We are love. Thank you, Lee and Swami, for sharing this beautiful story. Thank you for listening, Kristen. I'm so glad you're here and that that episode resonated for you. All right, y'all, let's dive into today. Is Mercury in the microwave again? No, Mercury is not in the microwave. Mercury has been direct now and is moving forward at a steady pace, once again in the sky. In fact, all of the planets are currently direct, you guys. April is the only month of 2026 where there are no retrograde planets. Hallelujah! Everything went direct at the start of Aries season. It'll stay that way until Pluto goes retrograde on May 5th. So this is an amazing time to start something new, go deeper, and commit to something that you've already been working on and felt passionate about by signing contracts, making deals, and committing to nurturing new ideas, unfolding ideas, and ventures. So let's dive into it. Aries season started on March 21st and will end on April 19th. So by the time we reach this new moon in Aries on April 17th, both the sun and the moon will be in 4 degrees of Aries. So if we think of the zodiac wheel like a pie with 12 slices, and each slice represents a sign in the zodiac, and it takes up about 30 of the 360 degrees on that pie chart. So 30 degrees for any sign is like the highest intensity level that we can have that zodiac sign be set to, so to speak. Kind of like the volume on a radio dial, like the volume's turned up. So this new moon will be exact on Friday, April 17th at 7:51 a.m. EST at 27 degrees of Aries. And a new moon is always when the sun and the moon are conjunct. So the sun will also be at 27 degrees of Aries. But look at this, you guys. Mercury, Mars, Neptune, and Saturn are all in early degrees of Aries. So that's 6 planets in Aries energy in the sky. So you're likely feeling energized and motivated to move forward at this time. However, to stay balanced, it's important to acknowledge all the aspects of Aries energy. So Aries is the archetype of the warrior or the ram. It's ruled by Mars, the planet of drive, aggression, passion, personal will, and Aries energy does not wait for permission. You guys, it initiates, it acts, it moves. Sometimes it moves too quickly and without thinking, right? In astrology, Aries is the first spark, the first sign on the zodiac wheel, kicking off the astrological new year at the time of the spring equinox. And as the first sign of the zodiac, Aries energy is all about beginnings. This cardinal fire sign is bold, impulsive, and fiercely independent, often blazing a trail before anyone else even realizes there was a path to make. Mars gives Aries its courage and clarity, and there's something refreshing about Aries energy. It says what it means, it doesn't dance around the truth, and Aries would rather risk conflict than swallow its own fire. So, again, often Aries moves too quickly to pause and consider others. At its highest vibration, Aries is leadership, boldness, confidence, creative ignition, and it's the courage to exist and take up space unapologetically in a world that told you to shrink or be invisible. But while this energy burns bright, its tendency to rush can lead to a lot of frustration and burnout. And how that's handled just depends on the person's maturity level. At a lower vibration, Aries' intensity can become reactivity, impatience, or even unnecessary aggression. Almost childlike. Think about a toddler throwing a tantrum, that new, immature, inexperienced energy, which can be lighthearted. Oftentimes it's relatively innocent, but also arrogant. Like, on one hand, emotions might be processed and moved through really quickly. Aries are certainly not the type to hold a grudge. But on the other hand, grown adult who can't regulate their emotions and their emotions are highly intense. It's at best not cute. And at worst, it's just scary, right? So every zodiac sign has pros and cons. And it's important for Aries energy in particular to be directed in a healthy way because Aries represents this sheer, raw willpower, energy, the ram, energy of creation, just barreling ahead, tons of physical energy, tons of passion. And when that sheer power and energy isn't given a healthy outlet, then it's going to erupt sideways, right? Like a cattle dog ripping up the couch after being trapped in a small apartment all day. It's like, what do you expect? When working with my own anger, it's been helpful to think of anger and passion as two sides of the same coin. Aries is like this. Aries energy is like that relationship that starts out hot and heavy and ends in screaming. If you have Venus or Mars in Aries, verbal or even physical sparring might feel like foreplay to you. And that hot makeup sex right after a fight is so Aries coded. Now, unfortunately, many LGBTQ plus people learned early on in life that their bold authenticity was too much, too loud, too direct, too passionate. And Aries is the archetype of the self, again, fearlessly barreling ahead with confidence and a refreshing lack of need for validation from others. So, this energy can give us, as queer people, a much needed dose of sense of self. But the archetype of Aries teaches us about that raw power, that fire, and the importance of keeping that energy balanced by tending to it, by handling it with care, right? So the real lesson of Aries isn't in suppressing that passion, that power, that anger. It's in learning to channel the powerful energy behind that emotion into a healthy outlet. So for someone with strong Aries placements and or around this time of year, right? Aries season, physical exercise and discipline like martial arts, yoga, primal movements, all of these are great examples of ways to channel healthy, balanced fire to protect boundaries and fuel creativity. Having balanced levels of fire is healthy. It initiates necessary change by being confrontational and being willing to take action. Meanwhile, having unconscious or suppressed fire energy that isn't being given a healthy outlet, it still has to come out, right? So it's more likely to manifest as resentment, passive aggression, things that damage relationships and burn bridges before we even consciously decide if we actually wanted to do that or not. So if Aries is your sun sign, your identity revolves around independence, action, and the need to assert yourself boldly in the world, and you likely have a lot of physical energy. If Aries is your moon sign, your emotions move quickly. You feel strongly, but you may try to skip over actually processing, preferring to move on to the next thing and needing autonomy to feel secure. And you may also have a lot of physical or emotional energy. If Aries is your rising sign, others experience you as direct, confident, and sometimes intimidating, and you may have even been told that you come across as harsh or insensitive. But even if you don't have any Aries placements, this much Aries energy in the sky will be affecting you. Take a look at your natal chart and note down the following questions. Where is Aries in your chart? Which house? And do you have planets in Aries? Those will be highlighted during this time. Where is your inner fire being suppressed? Are there ways in which you are holding yourself back from your own spark? How do you feel this Aries energy showing up in your life right now? Anger, motivation? Are you giving that energy a healthy outlet? While Aries rules the first house of self and identity, Taurus rules the second house of material possessions and wealth. This is an absolutely luscious and beautiful transition. Now that Aries season has officially steamed off the last traces of winter and pulled us firmly into the forward momentum of spring, it's as though nature is shaking off the dust and dirt and the snow, and as trees bloom again and animals come out of hibernation. So when I think of the zodiac wheel and the series of the 12 astrological archetypes, I think of it like a story of creation. First, Aries brings us that sense of self or ego, the sense that we are an individual, that we are. Consciousness is becoming aware of the self itself. So then from there, the next part of the story is that the self has needs, like basic physical needs, shelter and food, the comfort of the five senses, which are sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. This is when Taurus comes in. So represented by the bull, Taurus season runs from April 20th to May 20th. Taurus represents the earth element, which is very focused on stability, safety, and sensuality, meaning those five senses that I just listed. And it's also the fixed earth sign. So I personally describe it as stereotypically being the earthiest of three earth signs, most preferring routine, comfort, and predictability. And Taurus is also ruled by Venus, planet of love, beauty, and value. So Taurus is the appropriate energy for ruling the second house of wealth and material possessions. Taurus energy is also extremely hardworking and can just handle a lot of stress, a lot of work, a lot of substances, a lot of chaos. Taurus is a very hardy, it's fixed earth energy. In astrology, Taurus is the sacred keeper of the physical world and embodiment. So, where an air energy like Gemini or Aquarius may have a difficult time feeling grounded in their body, earth energies like Taurus and Virgo are very embodied, meaning they exist in a state that is naturally more rooted in their bodies and in the physical 3D reality rather than the mental or even spiritual realms. With Taurus season being at the height of springtime, this archetype represents fertility and the body of Mother Earth. So Taurus energy is soft yet sturdy, and when the world feels chaotic, a high vibrational Taurus is the friend who shows up with all the best snacks, an oversized hoodie, like 3 cozy blankets, and logs into their streaming service on your device so that y'all can watch some movies. Now, that is some practical, pleasureful friendship right there. Fixed earth energy brings grounding, patience, loyalty, endurance, and a sense of calm. Taurus energy doesn't rush. It builds slowly and it builds things to last. But fixed energy also resists change, and this bullheadedness, so to speak, brings its own set of challenges. Taurus likes comfort, predictability, routine. They know what they like, and they really like what they like. So, yes, they can be super stubborn. Feedback can seem to just bounce right off of them. For Taurus, security and stability bring a sense of control. Like if I can stabilize my environment, my finances, my relationships, my routines, then I'm safe. But of course, this is an illusion. Taurus energy is ruled by Venus, which represents love, worth, and value. Material and financial security matters greatly to this fixed earth sign because, again, that is where they derive their sense of safety and control. The influence of Venus is that Taurus is also attuned to sensual pleasure. So, the good food, the soft sheets, the luxury vacations. On its shadow side, Taurus may base their personal value and self worth off of their material possessions, physical appearance, or financial status. Overindulgence can become a coping mechanism. Greed, vanity, or even addictive behaviors can surface when comfort becomes the priority over growth. So, yes, basic physical needs and creature comforts being met is nice and it's something to aspire to. But when out of balance, Taurus energy makes comfort is a killer a very literal statement. So, reflect, where is Taurus in your natal chart? Which house does it rule? And do you have planets in Taurus? These will be highlighted during Taurus season. Where are you clinging to comfort that no longer serves your growth? And how can you bring in more embodiment and self care? All right, you guys. So, turning this initiation into integration, let's talk about why now is an auspicious time for manifesting and taking aligned action toward what you desire. There will be 6 planets in Aries during this lunation, and Venus also happens to be in Taurus, its domicile, during this lunation, which brings in more positive energy toward the potential for financial manifestation. This Venus in Taurus energy is auspicious for anything involving land, property, contracts, signing leases, other types of agreements like getting married and signing deals during this time. It's an auspicious time for making large purchases or investments, also for getting pregnant or things related to childbearing, childcare. Venus is referred to as the lesser benefic planet, and it represents art, beauty, creativity, even like remodeling your home or interior design. Anything considered beautiful, considered creative, anything to do with the home, family life, land, and commitments, long term relationships. And Jupiter, the greater benefic, has been and continues to be in Cancer, where it's exalted. Jupiter brings even more luck and expansive energy, and it also loves being in the watery cardinal sign of Cancer. So we have Venus, the lesser benefic, in Taurus, where it is very happy, and we have Jupiter, the greater benefic, in Cancer. And Taurus and Cancer also happen to get along well. So there's just a lot of nurturing, warm, loving, cozy energy in the cosmos happening alongside all of this fiery Aries energy. So it really nicely balances out the lunation, which is really nice because going back to those shadow qualities of Aries energy, Aries can be super intense, right? It can be impatient, irritable, angry, stressed, burned out. And then Taurus is just like chill, like super steady, calm, stable. It can kind of handle and take on all of that intense, powerful energy. And because it's able to withstand it and hold it, it can alchemize like fire and earth coming together to create something incredible, right? So, where I have noticed during Aries season so far, more people feeling a little bit more keyed up, more impatient, irritable, angry, stressed, burned out. I think that as we move toward Taurus season, that will calm down a lot as the sun moves into Taurus over the next few weeks. But until then, just be aware that all of these planets in Aries, they can have people, kind of be acting out, maybe feeling like rushed or like we have to rush. This is such a big contrast to Pisces season, right? Which feels like we just came out of it. We've already been in Aries season now for a week and a half or so, but Pisces season was like very heavy, sad, emotional, and sleepy, to where now Aries season has been like more on the irritable, angry side. But this is why we always study the positive and the more challenging aspects of every energy, because the key lies in the balance, right? So Aries and Taurus energy, I just feel like they naturally go really nicely and are compatible for that reason that Taurus Taurus is able to withstand Aries's intensity and actually help kind of channel it into something productive. And then Aries helps Taurus not be super stagnant and super set in its ways and stubborn. It's that fire that Taurus really needs to stay balanced itself. So, this Taurus influence, with the sun moving into Taurus toward the end of April and Venus currently being in Taurus, is reminding us that while, yes, this time is auspicious for taking aligned action, and things very well may simply just be moving quickly. Like sometimes what's aligned is what happens very quickly. And I think right now with all of these planets direct, that could very well just be the case. But this touch of Taurus energy coming in is reminding us that it's also perfectly okay to slow down, be cautious, right? Focus on what's practical and sustainable, where Aries just wants to run ahead, right? And actually think things through so that they can be built to last. A combination of strategy, patience, practicality, and focused, aligned action are going to be needed to manifest. And this is the real magic of this transit pairing. Aries energy says start, it's that cardinal sign initiating the year. Taurus energy says maintain, it's that fixed earth, seeing this fertile season through, that follow through from the fixed energy, right? Aries gives us the courage to launch the business, speak the truth, set that boundary, try that new habit. And Taurus asks us to do it consistently, to schedule and make time for it, to integrate it into our daily life. Can you build something stable instead of just chasing the next adrenaline rush? Can you choose a new idea and commit to nurturing it from that fleeting spark all the way up to a roaring bonfire? Aries creates identity and Taurus builds worth. Aries is the I am sense, and Taurus is I have, not just materially, but internally. I have value, I have worth. Without Taurus, Aries can burn out, and without Aries, Taurus can stagnate. Together, they create sustainable growth because instead of burning bridges, they're channeling that energy into building a solid foundation. So, are you ready to make that mental shift to not only ignite something new, but to actually commit to it and sustain it? What have you initiated so far this year? And what small daily habits and structure will support it sustainably? Share it with us in the comments. Our ritual challenge for this episode is called Plant the Spark. So, on the Aries New Moon on April 17th, I invite you to write down your bold intention, whatever you've initiated this year that will require your courage and willpower to maintain. Then physically plant something like a seed or a small seedling or a house plant. You can get creative with it. And over the next few weeks, as the sun is moving into Taurus, commit to tending to and caring for that plant every day. You can put your intention near the plant somewhere so that you can reread it consistently, or just allow the plant to remind you of your intention as you care for it on a regular basis. To summarize, in this episode, we explored the new moon and many other planets that are in Aries energy, giving us the courage to begin something new. We honored the astrological symbolism of the sun moving into Taurus, grounding this fiery energy into a sense of embodied worth and stable commitment. And we discovered why astrologically you may be feeling a bit rushed right now, but that aligned and decisive action has very good potential right now for manifesting your desires. And as a reminder, stay on top of your self care, you guys. This is a really likely time for burnout to occur. It's springtime, so people are still getting sick, respiratory stuff going around. So take care of yourself, pull out those self care resource guides from joining our email list. And if you'd like to book a personal astrology meeting with me, you can do so on my website at youareloved.one/readings. And I'd be so honored to dive into your chart and see how all of this Aries energy is affecting you personally and answer any questions you might have. You can also join our online community for just $11 per month to access exclusive new monthly content. We have zodiac themed meditations and yoga coming out every month, over 10 hours of video workshops, including a deep dive into astrology. And you can meet like minded queer folks who are also on a yogic path and spiritual journey. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, let's stay connected and stay witchy. I'll talk to you soon, and blessed be. With all my love, Lee Davy.